This is Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network, and I am your host, Mark. Let's give a warm welcome to Angel Ocana, the force behind Forest Circles. Angel grew up in Brooklyn, surrounded by a lot of Spanish music that he didn't understand. So it's no surprise that when he discovered his dad was a DJ, he gravitated to the pop music library his dad had collected. Angel began playing music as a drummer, and in addition to his father's pop music, he began to be influenced by grunge. But when he started playing with people, he found a home initially with Northern Arms, a Philadelphia-based 9-piece ensemble that gave him all kinds of experience, not just in music, but in the music business. Angel began writing the music that would become the basis for Forest Circles just as the pandemic started. The band was initially a trio, but as things began to shut down and isolation was the norm, the band became a solo project. With that in mind, Angel tries to keep the sound simple. That not only helps as a one-man band, but since he takes his time writing, it keeps the frustration levels low. Angel also studied photography, so Forest Circles' visuals are just as stunning as the music. So follow at ForestXCircles on Instagram, buy the music on Bandcamp, follow us at Performance ANX on Twitter and Instagram, and support us with coffee through ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety or merch at performanceanx.threadless.com. And now check out Forest Circles on Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network.
Hey, my name is Angel Ocana from the music project Forest Circles. Just released an E-long EP, A Doorway Cutter, and you're listening to Performance Anxiety with Mark Shea.
Thank you for joining me, man. This will be a lot of fun.
Sure, yeah, I'm excited.
This is, gosh, I'm trying to remember how I even found, I think I found your latest release through Instagram somehow. I don't remember. I just remember seeing the cover art and it was striking. Yeah. I was like, oh, what is this? And I hit play or a part of it was playing or something. And I'm like, this is really cool. I got to reach out to this guy. So,
oh man, fantastic. Thank you.
Oh man. Thank you for the album. It's so good. I've really been enjoying listening to it. But what I want to do is kind of find out how you got to where you are. So kind of want to start it from the beginning, really. So you're in Philadelphia, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Is that where you're from originally?
No. So I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
Yeah, I was, my family originally is from Puerto Rico, but we landed in Bushwick, and I was born around like 86 or so. So it's crazy time then. Yeah.
So I don't remember really.
Yeah. But yeah, originally from New York, and then I guess like I transplanted to Philadelphia. Okay. And I've been here ever since. Yeah.
Was there a lot of music when you were growing up? Was music something that you were really into when you were a kid, or did you come to it a little later?
I think it was all around the house. You know, my family listened to a lot of Spanish music. You know, it was like blasting all around the house. And, I didn't know what they were saying, but, you know, you get the feeling of it, you know, and you kind of connect with it. And but yeah, I guess that's the beginning of it, really. And then I learned later that my dad was a DJ before I was born. So,
oh wow,
there's some photos out there. He's got like the whole getup. Oh, it's very cool.
It's great. So it's kind of in the blood then.
I guess so. Yeah. And I found his records later, and you know, I think that's where I got a good gist of pop music and stuff like that. So
what were you listening to growing up? Because the music that you're creating, it's really unique to me, because before we even really get into it, it's kind of got this heavier shoegazy vibe, but the lyrics aren't that super reverby, ghostly, ethereal thing. The lyrics to me sound a little more like they lean towards the pop side of stuff.
Yeah, and the more I create, I find the same exact kind of findings, I would say. And I think it all stems back to that pop music like influence in the beginning. You know, my dad would always play like Michael Jackson, the Bee Gees, Elton John. Like,
nice.
It was all there. And I think lyrically, that's where I get most of my, I guess, approaches, you know. But yeah, it's great to notice that kind of stuff now, you know. It's like, oh, that's what I'm doing, you know.
Yeah, you start doing it, you don't really realize maybe where it comes from. So that's
yeah.
So what were you listening to as a kid before you had your dad's collection and the Spanish music playing in the house? What were you really drawn to?
Yeah, so once I got into, I guess, like high school, I started to dive into like some heavier stuff, you know, like the rock music. I think I was in a couple of bands at that point, and you know, I was originally a drummer first, so
okay.
a lot of my approaches definitely come from roots of like Nirvana, like jazz, like anything like I can get my hands into. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but
No.
yeah, originally like I definitely pulled like anything I can get out of thin air. You know, I think I can grab my hands on any drum kit or anything like that. But
when did you start? So you said drums were really your first instrument. How old were you when you started? How old were you when you started playing? And were drums actually the first instrument that you played?
Yeah. So I think a family member bought me like a little guitar, but it was I was like, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not really interested in this. But, you know, it was a right-handed guitar, and then I'm like ambidextrous. So like, I didn't notice that I couldn't play right-handed. So when I picked it up, I was like, I think the universe is telling me I can't play guitar. So, you know, I think drums was the next thing that caught my eye. But yeah, that's where it all started. It was, I think my mom had scrounged up like some money for me to take some like little lessons.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like down in like Myrtle Avenue. It was like a little music shop.
Oh,
and yeah, that's where like I got into 70s stuff, you know, like a little bit of Led Zeppelin and everything. And yeah, it was just like pounding as hard as I can, you know, and I definitely get roots from like, you know, Dave Grohl and John Bonham and stuff like that. It's like heavily influenced in most of my stuff. Yeah.
How old were you when you really started playing in bands? You said you had some in high school. Was that when it started for you, playing with other people?
Yeah. So I didn't have the confidence yet until like high school. You know, and I'm really glad my mom was had the patience for me, because it was tough in that household. I will tell you that.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, wow. The acoustic drums are they're pretty loud. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, yeah. The bands that you started off in, was it just rock or a little heavier stuff, a little lighter stuff?
Yeah, it was like punk rock. It was like Nirvana. We were definitely into like, I guess, the grunge scene and Alice in Chains and stuff like that.
Okay.
So immediately I kind of went from 0 to 100 when it came to that kind of stuff, which is cool.
You're a multi-instrumentalist. So when did you expand from drums? So it's drums, and then you also play some guitar. And when did you start really branching out?
Yeah, so I didn't really start branching out back into guitar, I guess, or, you know, probably until like, I would say like my college years.
Okay.
Like, you know, I think I, you know, started to fell in love for the first time, and then, you know, get your heart yanked out. So yeah, I started listening to a lot of like singer-songwriter stuff. Like somehow I kind of like took a step back and then dived into more like lyrical based stuff, you know, or at least paid more attention to those kind of artists and stuff like that.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Before you skip over this ad, give me 1 minute. Like most podcasts, I pick sponsors carefully, and I use the products that advertise here. Pure Spectrum CBD is a product that has been really beneficial for me. They have a wide variety of great products that can be used on a daily or as needed basis. I've been using the tincture every day, and it's been wonderful for easing anxiety. And I absolutely love the isolate. I use it instead of acetaminophen or ibuprofen, and it's worked so well for the relief of aches and pains. They also have soaks, lotions, salves, gummies, and more, plus an entire line for fitness recovery. They even have products for your pets. See everything they offer at purespectrumcbd.com. And if you have questions, they're there to help. They helped me when I had no idea where to start. After you fill your cart, use code PerformanceANX for 15% off your purchase. Pure Spectrum CBD, Pure Spectrum CBD, Pure Spectrum CBD. It's amazing what a broken heart will do, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's life.
Somehow that music finds you when it happens too. I don't know how it is. The universe, like you said, just kind of throws that stuff at you.
Yeah, and sometimes when you try to deny it, it comes back around and gets you. It's like, no, you're gonna listen because there's something to be learned here, And
Exactly.
We're young, and I guess at the time, we were stubborn and stuff, but there's lessons everywhere. So
is
that was definitely one of them.
Was it still all happening in the Bushwick area?
No, at this point, when I was around in college, I kind of went to Philadelphia, and I went for photography for about a few years, and then I was like,
that's what I studied too.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
But I went up to Rochester, so.
Nice. Yeah, so I was in the dark room and, enjoying all that beautiful world of just like
solitude and
yeah. It was fun. But then I kind of shift like gears, and most of my friends that I've made were from this area, so I just kind of decided to stay.
Were you still in bands at that point, playing in Philadelphia?
I was in a couple of groups. I guess music at this point wasn't, super in the foreground for me. But yeah, there were a couple of friends I've had, and we kind of jammed around. And, I think as I kind of grew roots in Philadelphia, that's a few years later, that's when I started to really get into drumming again and, join a couple of groups and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. So were you playing out at this point a lot, or was it still just kind of a bunch of guys just getting together and playing?
Yeah, we were playing out a lot. There was this group that I was in called Northern Arms a few years back, and it was like a 9-piece group, and it was...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. Different point of views, and
that's gotta be tough.
Yeah, scheduling that is surprised we did it for so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, those guys were great, and I feel like the kind of stuff we were doing was like dark, kind of Americana, and I was very into that kind of ethereal electric stuff.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, and then after that, I joined a hip hop group on drums for a little while, and we did a couple of good stuff. Like we went to Firefly. We opened up for some cool people here in Philadelphia. It was an eye opener to the music business, at least more than I have ever encountered, which is at that time was great. A lot of lessons learned for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good lessons, bad lessons.
Yeah. I
Both?
think, it's, to me, it's, just like any business, you have to consider it, the music side of it, like the artist side. And then you also have like the other hats you have to wear. So yeah, good and bad, I would say.
Yeah. When you get into it, you don't really realize that it's a business. People actually make a living off of this stuff that don't actually create the music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally.
It's a whole other amazing side of the business. I mean, so you got your management, but you've also got sound people, lighting people, tour managers, band managers. You got all kinds. That's the one thing that I learned through this podcast is that there are so many people in this business in so many different areas outside of actually creating music.
It's amazing. Yeah, just to dive into that, it's good to have like a solid team, to make that call come true.
Yeah.
Come to life.
So when did you start writing your own material? I mean, had you been doing it this whole time, or is that something that was newer to you?
I think it was around that college time. I was writing a lot of like singer-songwriter based stuff. Like there was no distortion or anything like that.
Okay.
It was heavily like influencing just the lyrics, and then like acoustic guitar. And then I kind of stuck with it here and there. And then I was like, you know what, this is definitely a calling for me, because I would play out as a solo artist, and just like listening and like, the feedback of people and like really touching people in a way with music. For me, I was like, yeah, like this seems something very important, at least a lot of people are connecting with it. So that's why I kind of stood with it,
When you see it affecting people, man, it's hard to step away.
Yeah. It's something that I cherish all the time whenever I get the chance to play live, because, every moment is beautiful, in that connection, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's wild.
So when did Forest Circles start to develop? And is it a completely solo project for you, or did it start that way and change?
It's a solo project now. It started around 2018.
Okay.
2019. I had put together a couple of friends of mine, and I essentially just brought in some songs and was like, hey, would you guys want to see what this could do, what we can do with it? And we released it, like, I think it was like one EP or something. It was great, like jamming with those guys. I feel like they were a lot of like my backbone when I needed it, as direction and stuff, and to get a general idea of what I'm trying to say in a way,
Okay.
Yeah. And then I kind of like, I had, the COVID-19 hit, and, I kind of just took a step back and was, just wanted a new perspective, and then that's when I started to just demo a lot of stuff at home. And I was like, you know what, I think some of these songs are ready. So I just decided to, release them.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. So the first release of Fever Dream and Labyrinth, is that just you, or is that the stuff that was recorded with the other guys?
Yeah, those two songs were with the other guys, Albert and Justin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are good, man.
Yeah, I Justin, and he's just a solid drummer. Like, it was wild. Like, I kind of stole him from another band, but not really. He was in this instrumental group for a while, and I would go out to see his shows, and I was like, he has a solid approach. He's very like in the pocket, and his understanding of music is just mathematical, and it's beautiful.
That's good. So, all right. So The next release, Poison Leaves, is that with everybody, or is that just you? Because those both came out in 2021, I think, right?
Correct. Yeah. So at this point, I was doing a lot of more demos at home, and that one was completely just from me. Yeah.
Okay. So the band or project is called Forced Circles. Is there anything behind that name?
I think I feel before Four Circles, we were jamming together, and it was this band Presages that we had for, I would say, like a few months.
Okay.
And there was a song I wrote that's called Four Circles. And I think just for my love of like, the woods and like, being out in nature, it came to me and I was like, I think this could be a song title. Then after that, I decided to name the group that.
I like it. It's a different type of name. And I know from recording so many people at this point, finding a name, it can be the hardest part of starting a band. So
yeah.
It's I
definitely get
name.
that from a lot of friends. Yeah.
It's a unique name, and it's stuck out. And the imagery is another amazing point. Are you taking the photographs, since that's kind of your thing?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stems from my years in photography, and I have a love for like black and white, like videos and old time movies and stuff like that. So I wish I could see sometimes in black and white, but
I know what you mean.
It's just it's just my influence in that kind of space where my art stems from and stuff.
So you said a lot of this stuff is coming out of the quarantine and being home alone and working on stuff by yourself. Were you recording it at home as well? I mean, are you set up to do all of that?
Yeah, so I hunkered down and was like, I think, because I'll take like a step back. Like in the studio, sometimes I feel like there's pressures, and there's time limits, that you have to kind of. And what I found in the past when I was, in those situations was sometimes like the inspiration doesn't come until later on in the day. And then you kind of have to stop. And I think the kind of music that I'm making, it can't be rushed, at least. I can't put it just doesn't seem like right in a way.
All right. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like maybe that's kind of your process, is to just let it, and I guess this is kind of for most people, but you just can't force it. You got to let it come when it comes.
Yeah. And that's such an important piece, especially when dealing with timing and the universe as well. I always go back to that because I believe in that so much. But yeah, like sometimes you're not supposed to be writing music, and then there'll be times where like you can write a song in like 10 minutes and then there it is.
That's awesome. What is influencing the sound? Because the first releases, Fever Dream and Labyrinth and Poison Leaves, they're good. They're really good. And they've got a sound. They all have a similar feel. If you're not coming out tonight, don't leave me hanging, 'cause you'll always stay on Doorway Cutter kind of takes everything and makes it better. It's like those three types. It's got a very similar sound, but it seems denser, and it just seems, I don't know, it seems like you've advanced. You still have the sound, of Four Circles, but it seems like it's advanced.
I'm always trying to challenge myself and not dig myself in a hole and create the same stuff,
Right.
I think it's always important to to put yourself in situations musically where you're pushing the envelope. And I think I'm a true believer in bending those, rules and stuff like that. Yeah, like I think it's definitely, it took me a while, and a lot of the fans were like, it's taking so long, please, like what is happening? But I had a vision for it, and I wanted for it to be true, in every way, even from the sound to the lyrics. Like I wanted everything to be, I guess, somewhat, and for a better word, like perfect,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like a lot of the tones that I use, like I'm heavily influenced now, and like there's a band called Savages that's like, I'm just like in awe with her guitar tone.
Oh, wow.
I think her name is Gemma. And it just, I feel like it somehow comes naturally to me, because I don't really mess around with the amps too much, like I kind of just let it speak to me in a way.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got a heavier shoegazy sound. It's got that dream pop reverb, but it's definitely overdriven. And it sounds really cool. I love the sound. Is that something that you're doing with effects? Are you doing it in post, when you're mixing things? And since... Are you blowing out your neighbors when you're doing this? Are you getting complaints when you're recording, or is it all doing it in the headphones, in Pro Tools or something?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a true believer of like the Walrus pedal line. Like I love their stuff.
Oh, cool.
It speaks to me.
Nice.
Yeah, like I dive into a couple of different pedals. Like I try to keep it simple, because when you're playing live, I can't be tap dancing on stage,
Makes sense. So anti-shoegaze in that sense.
Yeah, I know. It's so strange. But yeah, like a lot of the pedals I use are from Walrus Audio. Like they're just really reliable pedals, and I think they're amazing for that kind of vibe.
Well, I like the sound you're getting out of them for sure.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
it's killer.
Yeah, I also go through I have a Marshall that I go through, and a Vox. So the Vox gives me that kind of warm tone, and the Marshall gives me that, in your face kind of stuff.
Okay, all right. What is a doorway cutter?
So there's a show on Netflix called The Peaky Blinders.
Okay, I know of it, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, so it's like, I think their background, they're gypsies. So a lot of their beliefs are through like spiritual stuff, and essentially like people who can, the way that I kind of took it was like individuals that can go from universe to universe, or like,
okay.
And essentially I think there was this moment in the show where like they're talking about like someone who made a curse on a character, and they were saying like, this is somebody that can like cut through doors or something like that.
Okay.
And I immediately was like, something about a doorway cutter, and I was like, this is perfect.
Well, it's a great phrase, because that's it.
Yeah,
it kind of everything came together. When I found it I saw that on Instagram, I heard the music, I saw the imagery, and a doorway cutter. I'm like, that actually sounds kind of spooky, and it all went together perfectly, and it really intrigued me, which made me want to reach out to you and have you on the podcast, because it was everything. It's just a great image you put together.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's like just the name of it. Like, and I guess I kind of believe in that, is like ghosts and stuff like that and everything. I'm definitely a person who I feel that there are other like dimensions or realms, or that are other planes that are happening at the same live time that we are. So I was like, yeah, this would be perfect for the title.
And if you ever come up with a side project, that could be the name of another band. That's a cool band name too, by the way.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Someone grab it out there.
So you open the latest release up with Red Moon. I think that's my favorite song on the new release. That is a great song.
It's no surprise, breathe the cycle, toxication, smoke and lungs. We've been here all before. Letting go.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Do you use any unusual instrumentation throughout this album? Because on the title track, on Doorway Cutter, it sounds to my untrained ear like there's maybe some brass or something. Is there brass or synthesizers or something on it in the background?
Yeah. So for the self-titled, I knew that was going to be a keystone in some kind of way because the sounds that were coming, it just definitely felt like a direction that potentially can happen in the future. And I was messing around with a lot of different synthesizers that, kind of sound like horns.
Okay.
In a way. So I was like, this element here sounds beautiful for the song, but it kind of is different from like Red Moon and, Choke. It was very intriguing to me as well, but I enjoyed it in a way that it was almost like I stumbled upon it myself, but yeah, I guess that would be the most unusual instrument or
sound.
Sound.
I like it because it's, again, with the heaviness and the ethereal shoegaze quality. Keep going back to shoegaze, but you don't really hear a whole lot of brass sounds in that. And it's also on Medicine Man, if I'm not mistaken. I also hear a little bit of that in that song too.
Yeah, a Medicine Man. I also have like a few little strings here and there.
I don't want to see you this way. See you this way.
I'm a sucker for like cellos too.
I have become one as well. They're actually beautiful. They're so versatile.
Yeah, such
you can sound like a violin or you go deeper. It's just an amazing instrument.
Yeah.
So the new release is 4 tracks. Do you have more on the way? Are you working on new music, or is there anything full length wise in your plans in the future?
So I have a couple of songs that I am currently working on now. I tend to give a little hints of it on, like the social platforms and stuff like that, just to get like people excited and, to see what their reactions are and stuff like that.
Okay.
A couple ideas running right now and seeing what speaks to me and what works. Also pushing the envelope with different stuff as like different instruments. So yeah, a couple of things. I might stick to the format that I have now just because of the, where we are in music. I feel like attention spans can be a little bit short.
Very.
So not that I don't want to release a full length. I think my writing style is just, I take forever.
Oh, really?
so like if I tried a full length, I would be, it'd be years before.
So is that the toughest part for you though? What is the toughest part for you when it comes to doing this? Because if you're doing everything by yourself, there's
Sure,
got to be
yeah.
at least one or two parts that you're just like, this sucks. I hate doing this. Is it editing, or is it saying, hey, I got to stop, or is it the writing process, or is it something else?
I wouldn't say. I think there are certain tough moments, like there'll be times where lyrics are spilling through me faster than the music is. So, and then there are other times where it's vice versa. And, I think those were the times where like I'll be up at 2:00 in the morning, lyrics are popping into my head. This recently just happened, I think last night.
Oh, geez.
And, yeah, like it's strange how it works. Like I have to catch those moments when I do, or in the moment. But, yeah, I think those are the most frustrating times, like for me, when one is faster than the other.
Okay.
And I can't really get them to.
They don't really sync up so well.
Yeah.
So the new stuff that you're working on, is it still a true solo project, or are you planning on getting more people involved in Forest Circles?
At the moment in time, it's still solo right now.
Okay.
I think once I get like the backbone of things, and then if I hear other instruments I can possibly be on the tracks, I probably can reach out to a couple people I have in mind. Yeah, but at the moment it's still in the beginning stages. So
it's still a true solo project.
Yeah.
Do you get a chance to play out as Forest Circles very often? And do you have to get people in, or do you actually do it as a solo thing?
Not since the pandemic. I think since it's a fairly new project, I kind of wanted to get the material out first, and create like a platform for it. And then if eventually, like there's a solid amount of material, I might gather some musicians and then make it a live performance.
Okay. All right. Well,
yeah.
I've been listening to, particularly the Doorway Cutter a lot lately, but I've also come back and listened to the earlier stuff, and I really like it. I do like Doorway Cutter better, which I guess is the objective, right? You just keep improving as you go. So
Right.
To me, it sounds like you're on the right path. So I love all the imagery with Doorway Cutter. There's a couple photographs there that are absolutely gorgeous. So, I mean, all right, so this is going to be me kind of geeking out a little bit. So what are you using for your images? What kind of photo setup do you have?
So a lot of the stuff, like nowadays, it's just like digital.
Right.
So, like anything, like I could be walking around in the morning and, I see this like, this little moment in time, and I'm just like, I need to take a photo of this now, and then eventually, I'll go back and, edit it maybe a little bit, get some stuff, rolling, get the creative ideas going and stuff like that.
So you shooting more on like cell phones, or do you have a DSLR that you're using more often than the phone?
Mostly it's the cell phone for sure.
Okay. I'm blown away by the quality of some cell phone photos. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, like it amazes me all the time because I'm not really computer,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. So it amazes me how the quality for sure. Yeah.
It kind of makes me angry. I mean, because I shoot a lot with I've got a Canon setup, 5D Mark II, so it's a little bit on the old side at this point, but I love it. And my phone can't quite do what it does, especially zooming in and all, but it's not too far off, and it kind of makes me angry. Spent all this money on this photo rig. I mean, granted, it was years ago, but still, I mean,
Yeah.
it's insane. This little thing in my hand that I walk around with in my pocket can shoot almost as good a picture as my rig that cost me thousands of dollars.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Kind of gross. So where can people find the music? What's the best way for them to find Forest Circles?
Yeah, so a lot of the social media platforms, I don't really have too much activity on Facebook, but
Okay.
definitely Instagram. I guess all the audio social, what do they call it? Music, like Spotify and
all the streaming stuff.
yeah, that's the word. Yeah, I guess Apple and Spotify would probably be the best way.
And you've got some on Bandcamp too, which I love.
Right,
Bandcamp.
Yeah, that's a solid platform. I think they let you download in different formats and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. You can do FLAC, MP3, and I think WAV. So it's amazing to me to be able to, like the photography, to just stream that stuff on your phone. Your phone can do freaking everything at this point. It's kind of gross.
It's pretty wild.
So what is the Instagram handle where people can follow you, and when you're releasing more music, or if you can get out and play some live shows, what is the best way for them to follow you on Instagram? Or I guess, what is the handle for Instagram?
Yeah, so it's fours and then X circles, and I feel like that's probably the most active, social media. Yeah. I try not to dive into social media too much. I feel like people get lost into it.
Hey, you really can. And depending on which platform you use, it can really sour your day. I hate Twitter. I prefer Instagram because I shoot a lot of stuff, and I love to put it on Instagram, and it's a fun place. It's a fun way for me to get some of my creative juices flowing and get some of my photos out there that I really enjoy and I'm proud of. And so that's the one that I like the most. So
totally.
So I like that you're on it too, and you're more active on that than the others. So I like that. Thank you for the fantastic music. I'm really looking forward to what's up and coming for Four Circles. Not only for the music, but the images too. They grab me. So I'm just got to be keeping an eye out and spreading the word a little bit as much as I can, and hopefully we'll get some new listeners and keep you enthused and inspired to continue what you're doing with the project, because I'm really enjoying it.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Mark.